Do you guys remember what season it is? We know last season was winter, and so now it is spring. And I know that there are lots of signs of spring out there, so I hope you guys are getting outside. Maybe just go to your backyard and look for signs of spring. Maybe smell, see if you can smell signs of spring. If you can touch signs of spring. Maybe you could do it with your brother, your sister, or your mom, your dad, grandma, grandpa, maybe even a friend, who knows? But you guys should try and get outside and look for signs of spring. So I have this book. I don't know if you guys remember, I think we read it, but it is called Spring for Sophie. So I want to share this book with you guys right now. When will spring be here? Sophie asked her mom. Spring comes slowly, her mom told her. How will I know when spring is coming? The first way to tell if spring is coming is to listen for it. So remember, listening ears. Listen for it. When you hear the birds start to sing their songs to each other, that's when you'll know spring is coming. That's what spring sounds like. Did you guys see Sophie? She's at the window with her mom. Look, there's her pet, maybe her sister. So, Sophie listened. Where are your listening ears? Listened. She listened in the mornings when she played with her sister in the snow, and she listened in the evenings when she helped her dad collect wood for the fire. At first, she couldn't hear anything, except for how quiet the world was when it was covered in snow. But one day, as she walked with her mom to get the mail, she heard the first chirps. So what did she hear? Yeah, she heard birds. She heard those first chirps. Every day, she heard more and more. First, the chickadees, and then the mourning doves and the robins. Do you guys remember what the chickadees sound like? Chickadee-dee-dee. Remember, we heard them when we went on one of our walks. Soon she could hear all kinds of birds calling to each other, announcing that spring was coming. Sophie could hear the birds. But outside, it was still snowy and cold. How will I know when spring is getting even closer? Sophie asked. You'll have to use your feet, her dad said. When you start to feel the ground get softer and muddy, that's when you'll know spring is getting even closer. That's what spring feels like. So Sophie is using her feet to feel. Look at Sophie. She's standing on a log using her feet. She's ice skating using her feet. And this looks like she's taking big steps in the snow. She's still using her feet. So Sophie paid extra attention to her feet. Do you see Sophie using her feet to do lots of things? What can you guys use your feet to do? I can use my feet to jump. I can use my feet to dance. I can use my feet to walk up the stairs. When she walked in the woods with her dad, the ground was still slippery and hard, and she had to hold her dad's hand. When she walked shadow with her mom, everything still felt icy. But then one day, the ground felt softer than before, and the snow was slushier, and pretty soon her boots started sinking into the ground instead of slipping on top of it. Sophie felt spring getting closer. I went with Patrick on a walk the other day, and I felt signs of spring. I got my shoes extra muddy. But it's still not spring, Sophie said, and she sighed when she had to put on her hat and gloves to go outside. How will I know when spring is really here? Well, Sophie, you'll have to use your eyes and nose to tell if spring is here, her mom said. You'll have to watch and wait until you see the snow start to melt. And you will have to wait until the air begins to smell like earth and rain. That's when you'll know spring is here. That's what spring looks and smells like. So her mom said that she will have to use her eyes and her nose. So Sophie watched. Look, she's just sitting there on the wall watching. So what is she watching for and waiting for? Do you guys remember? Yeah, spring. She watched as the ice melted off the lake and as the snow turned to puddles in her yard. She watched as flowers pushed up from under the ground and showed their stems. And she watched as new moss covered the rocks in the woods. She saw the world turn from, what color is that? That's right, white. So she watched it turn from white to, what color is that, guys? That's right, to green. Look, there's Sophie. She's watching. She's watching and she's seeing all those signs of spring. And then one day, after the snow had melted, Sophie, take a big sniff. She smelled the air. She quickly put on her rain boots and her raincoat and she ran outside. Sophie looked up at the sky as the rain started to fall. Sophie, what are you doing? She heard her dad call. Sophie stuck out her tongue to catch raindrops. Can you stick out your tongue? She's doing that. She's trying to catch the rain. Now I know spring is here, she called, because this is what spring tastes like. And there she is. What is she wearing? That's right. Look, she has on her yellow raincoat and she has on her boots. And I see a puddle. There's Sophie. So maybe you guys can go outside and look for more signs of spring. So this was Spring for Sophie. Bye guys, see you soon.